Think first. Oh, I'll get it together. So, join me in the opening words. In our differences, we may feel separate, yet we are connected. In our illness, we may feel broken, yet we are whole. In our isolation, we may feel forgotten, yet we are loved. In our disability, we may feel impoverished, yet we have much to give. And so we gather here to remember and celebrate the divine source who loves us and makes us whole, and to offer each other support and encouragement. Okay, now. Control. Oh, is that what that was? You want to go first?
I'm going to read two passages.
Okay.
The first one is after the angel came to Mary, and Mary had said, I am the servant of God, let it be done to me as you say. And then the angel went away, and Mary set out and went to go see Elizabeth. And when Elizabeth's baby jumped in her womb, Mary said, my soul proclaims your greatness, O God, and my spirit rejoices in you, my Savior. For you have looked with favor upon your lowly servant, and from this day forward all generations will call me blessed. For you, the Almighty, have done great things for me, and holy is your name. Your mercy reaches from age to age for those who fear you. You have shown strength with your arm. You have scattered the proud in their conceit. You have disposed the mighty from their thrones and raised the lowly to high places. You have filled the hungry with good things, while you have sent the rich away empty. You have come to the aid of Israel your servant, mindful of your mercy, the promise you made to our ancestors, to Sarah and Abraham and their descendants forever. And from John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was in God's presence, and the Word was God. In the Word was life. I'm going to jump a little bit. In the Word was life, and that life was humanity's light. A light that shines in the darkness, a light that the darkness has never overtaken. Then came one named John, sent as an envoy from God, who came as a witness to testify about the light, so that through his testimony everyone might believe. He himself wasn't the light, he only came to testify about the light, the true light that illumines all humankind. The Word was coming into the world, was in the world, and though the world was made through the world didn't recognize it. Though the Word came to its own realm, the Word's own people didn't accept it. Yet anyone who did accept the Word, who believed in that name, were empowered to become children of God, children born not of natural descent, nor urge of flesh, nor human will, but born of God. And the Word became flesh and stayed for a little while among us. We saw the Word's glory, the favor and position a parent gives an only child, filled with grace, filled with truth. And John testified by proclaiming, this is the one I was talking about when I said, the one who comes after me ranks ahead of me, for this one existed before I did. A little bit different translation.
I didn't remember. I always remember the first in the beginning was the Word, and then I guess I never read further. So that was neat.
Okay. I actually have a couple, but Pat has one, right? You have a reading?
I was kind of gonna wait because I used this chance to look through my and pull my favorite books.
Okay. I am going to read something that came on my December 8th Still Speaking Daily Devotional by Quinn Caldwell, who's one of the more he's one of the more interesting and fun writers, I think, in that group. But anyway, it's the title is Blue. The earth dries up and withers, the world languishes and withers. The heavens languish together with the earth. From the ends of the earth we hear songs of praise, of glory to the righteous one. And that is from Isaiah 24, 1-16. It's become common for churches to hold a blue Christmas service each year during Advent. They're designed to be a safe and supportive place for those dealing with hard stuff made harder by Christmas, for those who aren't feeling what everybody else assumes is the proper Christmas spirit. I've held these services myself and probably will again, but I always worry about them a little. I worry about them partly because it seems strange to me to set aside a special service for the odd ones out, as if they were losers or weirdos that needed to be quarantined from the general population. But really, I worry about them because it seems to me that every Advent service ought to be a blue Christmas service. The Bible makes clear that the context for Christmas isn't rejoicing, it's desolation. It's not fullness, it's need. It's not presence, it's absence. I mean, if things weren't pretty messed up for everybody, then why would God have bothered? The time for Christmas carols isn't just when you're feeling great. The time is when you have to force them out through clenched teeth and the fear that you might not manage to believe them. I don't want you to spend this Advent wallowing. If you're feeling okay, great. God's coming on your behalf too. I just want to be sure you know that if you can't quite get into the Christmas spirit, then you're just who God came to save. I thought that was nice. I've had a rough fall. I thought that was a nice
It's kind of a hard act to follow. What I did was, because Christmas is my big month, because I was born Christmas Eve, and so it's always been just wonderful. I decided to pick some of my favorite books, and they aren't necessarily Christmas readings. I think what you said there was probably more what I had to say. Okay, this is from one of my favorite books, The Snow Leopard, Matheson, and it's been for years and years. And this is an call those things epigram at the beginning of the chapter. It's by Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav. As the hand held before the eye conceals the greatest mind, so the little earthly life hides from the glance the enormous lights and mysteries of which the world is full. And he who can draw it away, away from before his eyes, as one draws away a hand, beholds the great shining of the inner world. I'm just trying to decide what these shows were. Oh, that's tremendous. Basho was a favorite with everybody. Haiku makers. And he traveled a great deal. In fact, he traveled most of his life rather than staying at home. So, his days and months are the travelers of eternity. So are the years that pass by. I myself have been tempted for a long time by the cloud-moving wind, filled with a strong desire to wander. I walked through mists and clouds, breathing the thin air of high altitudes and stepping on slippery ice and snow, till at last through a gateway of clouds, as it seemed, to the very paths of the sun and moon, I reached the summit, completely out of breath and nearly frozen to death. Presently the sun went down, and the moon rose glistening in the sky. Do you want one more from Matheson? To figure out which is the best one. Should I see you have quite a few? This is sort of in the middle of one of his chapters, and you know about the search for the snow leopard. Does everybody know that story? Well, the snow leopard is found only in the highest of the Himalayan mountains, and it's very rarely seen, or at least was at the time Matheson wrote this. And so Matheson did a lot of traveling, a lot of writing about his travels, but wanted to, more than anything, to see the snow leopard. And so he's talking now about prior to meditation and then meditation. And he does a lot of sort of mindfulness meditation early on before even John Kabat-Zinn came along. So, the sun rising at the head of the White River breathes a suffused glow to the tent campus, and the robin ex center flits away across the frozen yard. At 7 there is breakfast in the cook hut, tea and porridge, and after breakfast on most days I watch sheep with GS parting company with them after a while. That's true. When the sheep lie down to go off on some expedition of my own, often I scan the caves and ledges on the far side of the Black River in hope of a leopard. I am alert for fossils, wolves, and birds. Sometimes I observe the sky and mountains, and sometimes I sit in meditation, doing my best to empty out my mind, to attain that state in which everything is at rest, free and immortal. All things abided eternally as they were in their proper places. Something infinite behind everything appeared. No Buddhist said this, but a 17th century Briton. And soon all sounds and all one sees and feels take on immanence and immanence, the two different words, as if the universe were coming to attention. A universe of which one is the center. A universe that is not the same and yet not different from oneself, even from a scientific point of view. Within man, as within mountains, there are many parts of hydrogen and oxygen, calcium, phosphorus, potassium, and other elements. You never enjoy the word aright until the sea itself flows in your veins, till you are clothed with the heavens and crowned with the stars, and perceive yourself to be the sole heir of the whole world, and more than so, because men are in it who are everyone sole heirs as well as you. So that's it. 2 more books for the next time.
Good. Good.
I wasn't sure when you said whether I was going to be one wanted to read or not. Educate, Rob.
Mhm.
No.
No, empty hands.
Is that enough readings to discuss, or I don't know? I've got a couple of Joan Chittis or things that are nice too. Just don't.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to go with the month of contemplation because this one really struck me. The signal is clear. There is no time to sink into the quiet of fall that is promised with the coming of Thanksgiving. By the Friday morning that follows it, the raucousness of capitalist Christmas bursts suddenly upon us. The warning of autumn with its browning of leaves and graying of skies, that life too is susceptible to the wisdom of the seasons, gets lost in the plastic world of limitless desire and limited resources. Shopping becomes what Advent is meant to be, the consuming preparation for one of the greatest feasts of the Christian year. But commercialism is not the problem. We're a consumer society, whatever the season. The problem is that the lack of contemplative consideration that comes with Christmas consumerism too often drowns out the sounds of Advent.
I'm sorry.
That's where I
Okay, let's see, where were we? Let's see. Too often drowns out the sounds of Advent and drains not only the feast, but even perhaps the rest of the year of its meaning. As a result, we have managed to make Christmas an event, a passing fancy, an exhausting endurance exercise, stripped of reflection by the pressure of social protocols. But judging from the scripture of the season, Christmas is surely meant to be an attitude towards life, not a carnival. It is meant to be arrived at slowly and lived succulently. Christmas is not meant to be simply a day of celebration. It is meant to be a month of contemplation. But because Advent has been lost somewhere between the Thanksgiving turkey and pre-Christmas sales, we have lost one of the richest seasons of the year. Advent is an excursion through Scripture meant to give depth and emotional stability to the days for which there are no songs, no tinsel, no flashing lights to distract us from its raw, tart marrow. Unless we can reclaim Advent, the lack of it will show dearly in the way we go through the rest of life itself. Anyway, that's a very Christian perspective, realizing that we do have Unitarian Universalists who, and people like me who just think outside the box anyway.
You buy that stuff.
Yeah. So I thought we could discuss just what Christmas means to everybody. I mean, how you interpret, how do we interpret? How do I interpret the birth of Jesus? And I have some unorthodox ideas possibly, but if we could go around and share a little bit about, what does it all mean? And of course, I have opinions, and I can start. And I said I have opinions, and I can start. My thoughts on Jesus was that he was a very highly spiritual, highly awakened individual who came to teach us that all of us are, at the root of it, children of God, and to just get us to understand that we all have the kind of power that he had to change the world, that every single person can, we all have gifts and we all have that spirit in us. So that's just kind of in a nutshell, I guess.
So then, thinking about it that way, do you do anything different about Christmas and Advent?
This year I read this month of contemplation thing right after Thanksgiving, and thought, it's true, and this year has been more contemplative, more thoughtful, more. I've been making presents, knitting and crocheting, and finding those activities to be. It's almost like working with prayer beads to me. It's just a stitch, and it's very calming and clears my mind, and I can tap into that, the depths, and it's helped me. I've had a really hard fall, just a lot of seasonal depression, and some of that was being in Cleveland and getting glutened badly, which lasted for about 3 weeks of fatigue and brain fog and not being able to wake up, and really worsened depression, which as of Monday has cleared now. So it's, but just being able to settle myself and just, find that spirit in me has been very sustaining this year.
It's very true that people where I live, not all people, but there is a prayer shawl group.
Yeah.
And they knit prayer shawls for
Mhm.
whoever needs them. And I think they decide who needs them, or it depends on who's in difficulty at the point that somebody has a shawl done. And so, but they all pray while they're doing it, and in a sense, it's this motion that does send it inward.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's neat. For me, I think I have the same concept of Jesus that you expressed. So, and my great love of him is not that I think he's fixing my sins, but that he belongs to the people that I work hard for, one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
mentally ill, but people in Calgary are the, some of which I'm shedding now, so that I can become sane. Because I'm going too many directions. But anyway, so that's, I don't have a feeling in any sense that he was God, but that he was so remarkable that he's managed to, affect us all year after season after decade, which is, I think, exciting. But for me, Christmas is light. And it's because everybody always says, oh, poor thing, you have a Christmas birthday, you only get one present. And I say, it was a depression and nobody had presents. So then they're quiet for a while and they say, well, what is Christmas to you then? And I said, well, partly as a child, it was that everybody seemed to be celebrating my birthday, which was kind of exciting. And when I got to be 5 years old, my parents took me out in the dark, late at night, to the midnight service at Westminster Presbyterian Church, which, if you don't know, is a big church on the mall. It's been around. And so I'd never been out in the dark, never been out later than 8 o'clock. And there I am in this huge church with this wonderful choral music. And a choral maestro, sorry, anyway, he lasted there long enough for many, many years so that I could choose my wedding music with him, the organist and the piano in charge of the music. So that I could always do. And you've been looking at everything snowing and so browning out, bleaching out. Suddenly there was this church, all real lighted candles before anybody got this and made into electric lights. So that is my beginning memory, and it's always moved me that he, in fact, certainly more than any historical figure, perhaps, except Buddha, that thought like the people needed. So, like, thank you. That's right.
Around the table.
I don't know.
There's a little children's booklet now, I wish I had brought today. Didn't think of bringing. Maybe I can do it next time, even though it's after Christmas. Is that all right?
Okay, sure.
Anyway, it's a child's book about the biblical story of Jesus. And we've read it every year for 50 years. We lived in Korea at the time, and I was part of an English Sunday school class, not Korean. And the United Church of Christ had just come out with, quote, a new curriculum. And this little booklet is part of that. Anyway, that's just kind of special that we've had all of these years. But the other evening, we were at the Roseville Christmas Carol service, which they have every year. You know about that? It's really nice to come to. And the music director from Falcon Heights United Church of Christ has directed it for 15 years. And his wife has played the organ and piano for 15 years. And it's a combination of the Roseville String Orchestra and singing carols together. Anyway, the words of this carol really struck me anew when we were singing it there. And it's the second and third verses. And I believe for me, this exemplifies why we have a season called Christ Mass, which is is where the word really came from. Christ next. Good Christian friends, rejoice with heart and soul and voice. Now you know of endless bliss. Jesus Christ was born for this. God has opened heaven's doors, and you are blessed forevermore. Christ was born for this. Christ was born for this. Good Christian friends, rejoice with heart and soul and voice. Now you need not fear the grave. Jesus Christ was born to save. Calls you one and calls you all to gain the everlasting call. Christ was born to save. Christ was born to save.
Next, I guess. I've been hearing on the radio a lot of Christmas music. And on one of the, it's a Protestant station, AM 900, KTAI, Northwestern College station, and they have called upon the audience to send in their memories. I've been inclined to do that, but I didn't do it. Anyway, the one memory I have is when I was a young, early 20s, missionary in what is now Ghana. This was the Gold Coast then, still a British colony, something like the American colony. Only it was still a British colony. And when I got there, the house in which I was to live was not ready yet, so I stayed with Scottish people. I was working with Scottish people. The Scottish Mission Book Depot in Accra. And then when the house was ready for me to move in, I moved in. And it was on the compound, but it was close to the native people. And every night when I went to bed, and this would have been around Christmas time, I'd hear this American music coming from the local saloon, I guess you call it, beer joint, whatever, pub. Silver bells, silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city. Every night I hear that floating on the breeze, summer breeze. And it's summer all the time in Ghana because it's on the equator and never snows. Beautiful weather. That's one memory.
How long were you in Ghana?
2 years. Two
As a
Christmas.
missionary or as a minister or both?
I went as a printer in the book depot printing department,
With the Presbyterian Mission.
Presbyterian, Scottish Presbyterian.
Pretty hard.
On loan from the ENR Church, the Evenshaw.
The predecessor to the United Church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the presidents. Because that was in 52. And the church became the United Church in 57.
Yes,
Which was
the year I was born, so that's how I remember.
57.
Mhm.
Wow, that's interesting. And that was the same year that Ghana, the Gold Coast became Ghana. They got their independence in 57.
And was it the Gold Coast because they had oil there?
Oh, yeah. Of course, a lot of the gold was in the form of dark-skinned people. Slaves.
Oh,
I lived a mile from the Christiansburg Castle. Christiansburg was a Danish word, Christian, from which they loaded slaves on ships in the past.
And then Kofi Annan came to Miguel.
Yeah, Kofi Annan. Kofi Annan.
I'm sorry. I never saw
Born after I left there.
it.
Went to Hamlin.
No.
Was it Hamlin? Or McAllister?
McAllister.
Oh.
Good Presbyterian school.
It's
Mhm.
a really good Presbyterian school. And some other kinds of people that aren't Presbyterians. They've always
It's left-wing progressives,
okay.
like us.
Some of us.
Most, hopefully. Next.
It's always good to have a couple of them.
I think growing up, Christmas has always been that comforting time of year. And then I lived overseas for one Christmas, and it wasn't comforting because they didn't have a Christmas tree.
Where was that?
In St. Vincent, in the Caribbean.
Oh.
And it wasn't the same. So my mom sent me a little Christmas tree with some lights on it. And I think at that point, that's kind of where I started questioning, what is it? What is this supposed to be? And I'm still questioning it. And I've gotten to the point of thinking about, what is it that I want to leave my children with? And we still haven't put up a Christmas tree, and I don't know if we will, because I don't know if that's the important thing I want to leave them with. I don't know if that's the thing that I want them to associate with Christmas.
Well, we'll Google solstice. Because that's really close up on.
I have he's going to be 14 on December 22nd.
Uh-huh.
And then I have a 5-year-old who's going to be 6 on January 1st. So their birthdays are really close to Christmas. So I'm trying to let go of my expectations of Christmas and what other people expect of me, and trying to figure out what do I want to do with it now. So I'm doing a lot of questioning.
I'll tell
Trying
you,
to rebuild.
I'll tell you later.
You're gonna answer
Yeah,
I love that.
I've got some advice too. It's lucky you came today. Most of us would like to give advice.
Well, I have, since I've been an adult, I have always celebrated that Christmas is about God being born in us, in each of us. And I still think that. But I have to say, all of the barnacles that we attach to this sort of season are kind of making things difficult for me this year. And I don't know why this year. Maybe because I have a 17-year-old who would kind of like, well, what she'd like is for her grandmother to be alive and putting on the Christmas show the way she did when she, my mother had always had a big tree. She collected nativity scenes. So one of the things the grandchildren would do would be to count. And it was always like 140 or something from all over the world on every flat surface.
Wow.
And so I now have 3 of the 100 and some. And even so, we don't have enough flat surfaces in our house that are open. So we put them up this week. And I like having the house turned toward Christmas. And I like the comfort feeling. But mostly focusing isn't the right word, but I've definitely been challenged this year by the dark and the cold, even though now it's warm. couple weeks it won't. But I still come back to that idea of the divine inside us and recognizing it in each of us and reminding that, I think especially when it's so dark outside and around us, that we've each got that little spark of life and light inside. And I just need to, I just want to practice turning toward that every morning and getting up, realizing that I'm a carrier of that light instead of burrowing down back into the covers, hoping I won't have to go out until I grow. But the struggle is there.
It's always nice to discover that spark in other people too.
Yes, yes.
Can be with people that you can recognize that spark.
And if I look for it, it's there.
Yeah.
And if I burrow under the covers, then I don't see it. So that's not actually a good plan, despite how attractive it seems at the time.
You sound like a groundhog.
Well, I just do it earlier.
Did you sing a song after her comments? Are you finished?
Yeah.
This is the light of mine. Page
Oh, that's a good.
524.
Oh, there's a, okay.
By which?
524, if I read it correctly.
That's right, you're correct. That's where it is.
Yeah, right on the ball.
This little light of mine.
I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. This joy I have, the world didn't give to me. This joy I have, the world didn't give to me. This joy I have, the world didn't give to me. No, the world didn't give.
The world can't take it.
I have no idea.
That doesn't come
It
through.
doesn't work.
That's a-
Okay, well, that was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, well-
perfect.
Nice thought.
Actually, the real verses that we know, I think, are on the next page.
Oh, hey.
Oh,
Everywhere I go,
yeah.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Yeah.
Okay, but we should, well, okay, if we can do this instead of the other hymn.
I vote we in the manger.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay.
Let
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All through the night, I'm gonna let it shine. All through the night, I'm gonna let it shine. All through the night, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Are they telling us to stop singing?
They're moving away now?
They're moving away.
I don't care.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Light.
Let 'em go.
Yeah.
We need some-
Thank you for suggesting that.
Yeah.
Carry that with me.
Yes, yeah.
There you
Or vice
go.
versa. Thank you.
I'm remembering these two more verses from Sunday school. The fourth one we sang was, let it shine till Jesus comes. I'm gonna let it shine.
Oh, wow.
Let it shine till Jesus comes. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine till Jesus comes. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. And don't let Satan get out. Don't let Satan get out. I'm gonna let it shine. Don't let Satan get out.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
I learned those verses too.
Wow. Sure never did.
Yeah.
I didn't.
That's for
I
me.
didn't do that
Why
one.
not?
No.
Methodist.
Yeah.
No.
We were at,
Anyway.
where was that? It was an evangelical church. For the covenant.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Put it under a bushel.
Oh, hide it under a bushel. No.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we sang that.
All right.
Yeah.
Hide it under a bushel. No.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, so, and Roger, did you want to talk about Christmas at all?
So that's what I was saying, that Christmas is very nostalgic for me. That my mom put on a show, and it was always a combination of the religious and commercial. We had a Christmas tree just decked with tinsel and lights, and there were little Santas and things all over the place, but there are also nativities and religious carols and things, and so it was all rolled together into one. And Jesus and Santa were both magical, and it really didn't pay to get into fine distinctions about how many chromosomes Jesus had. It still creeps into my mind around Christmas time. But, Carter is 7 now, and he's still very magical. And he's forever trying to work out just how this is all gonna work. But each morning he can, Dad, elves don't necessarily make the presents. Elves can just work on the machinery that makes the presents. And well, I suppose it could work that way. So, and he says, oh, he saw it in a movie, and then so we discussed, well, the movie is all just artistic renderings of concepts. I don't know, maybe we should make a trip to the North Pole sometime and see, if there are any else there or not.
Oh, wow.
Did you watch Rudolph the other night?
And so he didn't watch it when it was on broadcast TV, but we've got it on videotape.
Oh.
So it's been on once so far. We'll be on more. And he's got the Rudolph figurines. But, I have a hard time kind of keeping my opinions to myself, I guess, and letting him just develop it. And I find there's a kind of a watershed point where he says, right, Dad? And then I have to declare whether I think of things in just the way that he has presented. To say, well, that's not quite the way I see it. So then I sometimes get into how I see it. Sometimes I don't, depending on whether he's really curious. He seems to just kind of veer off when he learns that I haven't exactly endorsed the theory that he's put forward. But that's Christmas. It's mystery still. I like lights. We put up our tree the day after Thanksgiving. It takes about a week these days. An artificial tree that we try to make this look as real as possible.
Mm.
I try to get the garland to look just like little bluebirds put it on.
Oh.
That's hard to do. Try to get those twinkle lights spread out nice and evenly so they look like they've just fallen with the snow. It's a lot of fussiness, but it's contemplative too. It's a little bit like prayer beads. So I spend hours just kind of thinking of Christmas is past as I'm putting the ornaments on.
Carter named after Jimmy.
So, no, not sure where. We're just searching lists of names, and that one struck us as one that sounded sturdy. We thought he would be, and he is. Yeah, probably after June. And last Sunday we went to Tuba Christmas for the first time. I had heard of Tuba Christmas a few years back. And Tuba Christmas is a national phenomenon. The tuba players from around major and minor metropolitan areas gathered together and rehearse for half an hour and then perform Christmas carols.
Wow.
And so people come. The one in Minneapolis, St. Paul, has, I don't know if there's a separate one in Minneapolis, but the one that was in St. Paul at Central Presbyterian. And Central Presbyterian has been hosting them for the past 7 years, I think. But it was the 27th year that Tuba Christmas had taken place in the Twin Cities. And so it was just an hour long, and they played probably 12 or 13 carols, and they would play a stanza instrumentally with all the tubas, and then everyone would join in for a verse and a chorus. And it got me thinking, wow, I know all these songs by heart, but my children don't yet.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to work on that.
So we kind of need to move on here. And then I left the meditation time a bit open today. I want everybody to, I suggest if people want to bring prayer beads, they can, or just we can, follow your breath. Or I would suggest the thing I've really craved this year is just quiet and relaxation. So I'm gonna call it at about 5 after, but I invite you to take a few deep breaths on your own schedule and do what you need to do to just relax and kind of dig in deep. if you can bring yourself back to the room. Taking out my chime.
What did you say?
I should have taken out my chime.
Giant, yes.
I didn't.
Sorry. This is good.
So, so and then we have prayer time and
Turn off
That 5
for
minutes
prayer time.
went by fast.
yeah.
So that 5 minutes went by
Oh,
fast.
didn't it though? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to put a prayer out there for California on the way here. I heard they're having their worst storm ever, and even the redwood trees are at risk of being blown over. And they've closed down a bunch of schools along the coast and things. It's
Wow.
intense.
I would like prayer for justice in the world for people on the margins of society, which more recently, as you know, the attention has been on people of color, but it also includes people with various disabilities that have been victims of police indiscretion. So that our justice system might actually become a system of justice.
I'd like to say a prayer for people with mental illness, both diagnosed and undiagnosed, that are also on the margins of society, or maybe they're not getting help and they're just getting put in the local jail because they've been made disturbance. There is some, apparently, I said I saw in the Tribune the other day, move to change this constant cycling in and out, in and out, in and out, because it's costing so much. And because these people are in need of help. And so they're going to have a center for putting them in, while everybody's trying to decide legally where they need to go. Unfortunately, it's going to take 3 years to build that, so in the meantime, good luck with everything. But there are 50% of the homeless.
And at least 30% of the people in prison.
And even those who are well taken care of, have difficulties that continue throughout their lives. As when the de-warehousing and de-institutionalization came in, they were supposed to be greeted by the community with open arms. Hasn't happened quite that way. People incorporated does quite a lot. Anyway, that's more than a few sentences. So,
There was an article in, I'm not sure if it was last week or the week before, or sometime recently in Time Magazine. Some very good facts, but the headline and the beginning was very detrimental. I forget now what the title was, but it certainly didn't do anything to destigmatize the area. So we need much prayer in many ways related to that. It's the leprosy of our day.
it is. Also pray that the media did not always immediately say when somebody kills 16 children that it's mental illness. I mean, perhaps it was, but
And perhaps it wasn't.
perhaps it wasn't, but you don't ever get the wasn't much.
That's right.
quite how he put it, but Malala's father made a nice prayer in his comments. He was talking about how the Nobel Prize would help advance the cause of girls' education.
Yeah.
But that it was still going to be very difficult because it would involve change, and there are people who benefit from the status quo, and so the people who don't want to see the status quo change will be unhappy. But then he said he prays for those people and hopes that they will find other happiness because there's plenty of sources of happiness. And so he feels love for everyone, but those people who get their happiness from what is causing other people unhappiness, he hopes that when they lose that happiness, that they'll find other happiness. And so it's a very generous prayer. And so pray that those who get happiness at the expense of others will find other better happiness.
Beautiful.
Anyone else? Then join me in the response to the prayers. May we be blessed with joy. May we be blessed with light. May we be blessed with peace. And then the closing prayer. Loving God, we thank you for this time together and for each one gathered here. Bless us as we continue our journey of hope in the world. And then we'll see if we can sing with Iris Away in the Manger. 124. Lord Jesus, lay down his sweet head. The stars in the sky look down where he lay. The little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. Kettle on the morning wakes, but little Lord Jesus no crying he makes. I love you, Lord Jesus, protect me, I pray, and stay by my side till night turns to day. Dear me, Lord Jesus, I ask you to stay close by me forever and hold me, I pray. Bless all the dear children in your tender care, and fit us for heaven to live with you there. A little different. It's the alternate tune, but that works.
I worked for the United Church of Christ in the national offices when this hymn book was being done.
Oh, wow.
And the national meeting, General Synod it's called, when this was adopted, there was much controversy.
Oh.
I'm sure most of the
Always.
lyrics were
On
51,
very
49
familiar
notes.
songs were changed and set compared to the Presbyterians who kept all the old ones, but then they added new ones. And so every time we sing a song like this that we really all know,